There is not a single Republican who holds a congressional seat in New England in the House of Representatives. Now, ironically, in the Senate, there actually is because Susan Collins won her race in 2020, but if she loses in 2026, this may not be the case anymore. But but the closest that anyone has come to gaining a district in New England is Maine's second. Golden only won this district by around a half percentage points. Yet he still couldn't win in a district that Trump won by 9 points on the concurrent presidential ballot. You look at all these districts in New England, and you're pretty surprised that not one of them has a Republican, and they're not pretty close either. New Hampshire's within single digits, but then neither of them are under 5%. You look at Massachusetts, and the eighth district is under 15%, but it was still a pretty. I mean, the ninth it was still a pretty safe margin. Connecticut, the best you have is the fifth district, but even that still voted for a Democrat by almost 7 percentage points, and everywhere else is solid. But how did it become this way? It was this way for a while, too, in many previous elections. And we'll look at several New England states. In Maine, for example, 2024 was really the closest that someone has come to flipping the first, ever since the first district itself flipped in 2018, as Golden won it by 1% over the incumbent. Despite this being a pretty pro-Trump district, he carried it by 6 points in the next election before it narrowed back down to around half a percentage point. 2016, Bruce Palinquin won the seat by 9.6 points, and he won the seat by 5.2 in 2014 as he flipped the open seat. However, the second district had actually initially usually been held by a Democrat leading up to this. 1992 was the last time we saw a Republican win a seat before 2014. Maine second district used to be a lot more Democratic leaning, but how Jared Golden keeps a seat remains a bit of an anomaly to me. Meanwhile, in New Hampshire, again, it's been like this way with the margins for quite a while, where they've always been relatively Democratic leaning, which is odd considering that since New Hampshire Republicans have control of redistricting, you would think that they would gerrymander it so Republicans would have a seat. They were both close in 2016. That was the last time they were really close, mainly on the coattails of Trump almost winning the state. 2014 was the last time we saw a district go red, the first district of New Hampshire. Democrats won them both in 2012 after Republicans won them both in 2010. And it strikes me as odd that you have a state like New Hampshire, which has a Republican trifecta, and yet statewide, Republicans just can't win at all. Also, 2024 is odd because now we're seeing the second district be more Republican leaning than the first. Despite the first being more urban than the second, the second always had more Democrats until now, and that strikes me as a little bit odd. And yes, it is true that northern New England is a rural area that does generally have a lot of Democrats. Vermont, you have to go back a very far amount of time to find the last time that Vermont was not controlled by either a Democrat or an independent for the House. You have to go all the way back to 1988 for the last time that Republicans won the Vermont House seat, which was also the last time that, as you could sort of see on this map, 1988 was the last time that Republicans won a presidential election in Vermont, as the state has swung hard to the left, really since 2004, but even in the 90s, it was reliably Democratic. 88 was really the last time that we saw Republicans holding on to Vermont, and it sort of makes sense when you realize that, compare 1976 to 1980, you'll notice the only state to get more Republican to not get more Republican is Vermont. which swung heavily towards Jimmy Carter. And starting in 1880, it actually became a left-leaning state. Republicans just won 3 landslide elections, so they held on to the state's electoral votes. Massachusetts, you also have to go back a long time to find out the last time that we saw Massachusetts be, you know, have a Republican. Now, the 6th district was close in 2012. It was 1 percentage point. In 2010, the 10th district was 4.5 points, and there was some other districts that weren't complete blowouts. But overall, Massachusetts has been very Democratic in terms of their congressional districts, for a while. 96, we saw the 6th go to the Democrats by 0.13. I think that was against the incumbent. The 3rd was only 7.6, and the 1st was only 5.5. You have to go back to 1994 to find out the last time that Republicans won any seats in Massachusetts. It's a little bit odd considering that, pre-Republican evolution, it actually generally had Republicans, but the state used to not be quite as crazy blue as it is right now. So, yes, that does mean that in 76, when Democrats had a supermajority, they still had a seat in Massachusetts. Rhode Island is a state that has consistently been controlled by Democrats. Yeah, 2022 it got close. It was only 3.7 points, but no cigar, as the Republicans could not flip the 2nd district. Now is really the closest opportunity that they've had in a while to flip this. As usually, it's not even close in Rhode Island. '92 was the last time we saw a Republican win in Rhode Island's 1st district. Then the incumbent retired in 94, hence the seat flipped. Finally, Connecticut. In Connecticut, we've certainly seen close calls in Connecticut. The 5th district in 2022 being decided by under a percentage point. Certainly a close call. In 2012, the 5th was only 3 points. 2010, we had some closeness, but it was 2006 when it was the last time that a Republican won, when Shays won the 4th by 3.4%. Notice how ultra close the 2nd district was. In 2004, Republicans actually had a majority of Connecticut seats. Republicans have really lost their grip on New England. It wasn't long ago when New England was one of the most Republican regions in the entire country. You reminisce back to 84 and 80. Well, not 80, but 84 when all... actually, I shouldn't say that. But you look at it like 76. Democrats won here in this national election. But outside of the West, where Republicans won every state save for Hawaii, New England was the 2nd strongest region. They won Connecticut, Vermont, New Hampshire, and while it was close, they managed to win Maine. Democrats only got Massachusetts, Rhode Island. Northeast as a whole was also relatively, split and balanced. We certainly saw, New York be a lot closer than it ever was. This is, the closest in line with the national average it's been since 1960. So it's odd to think of how this is one of the most traditionally Republican regions of the country, and how it just completely turned on them. But